How did you get your first job? I guess the smaller and random odd jobs don't really count as first job, but early on I would occasionally help my neighbor, Willie Butler, when he needed help to move something heavy or deliver an appliance he had repaired. Most cash flow was generated in the summer when neighborhood grass needed cutting. What I thought was a normal lot was about $2 or $3 per job. Jim Darby's lot was larger and more difficult. It was a $5 job, which I thought was a great deal of money. I taught a few drum lessons to kids who anticipated playing in the marching band in the years to come. My first job that required regular hours, daily attendance, and fairly strenuous effort was as an all-purpose laborer for the Montgomery Small Motors on Madison Avenue near Crampton Bowl. Tommy Hooper, a man from our church, gave me the job one summer, and I remember having to work pretty hard to keep up with expectations. The main duties were to unload lawnmowers from customers' vehicles, locate and load repaired machines, and to maintain order and cleanliness on the property. For a high school boy to lift and load a full-size lawnmower by himself was pretty demanding. Another time card level job was working for the other main neighborhood employer, Pat Locker, at the Shell oil terminal at the plant. I was the third Hammett brother to hold this summertime position. Main duties included cutting the grass over 5 acres or so of land, delivering cases and drums of oil products to service stations around Montgomery, checking gas samples from the 50,000-gallon storage tanks, and keeping order in the warehouse and grounds. Occasional painting of valves and pipes in specific colors was necessary. I remember ascending the curved stairway on the outside of one of the tanks as another employee walked ahead of me. His hand bumped a yellow jacket nest as he walked up, and I walked right into the disturbed population of angry wasps. I could not run up or down the narrow stairway, and the only escape was to jump down about 20 feet to packed gravel. I had no choice but to stand there and take the swarming and stinging of 15 or 20 bitter critters. 2 bits of trivia were: you can put a lit match out in a pail of gasoline, and if you fall into a tank of gas, you cannot swim. You will drop to the bottom, as gasoline is not dense enough to allow a body to float. I learned to drive a forklift in the warehouse with only minimal catastrophes. I pierced a pallet of expensive aviation oil, which dribbled out, soaking the cases that sat below the damaged gallons. On another occasion, I hit the wrong lever on the forklift and nearly dumped 4 55-gallon drums of oil onto the concrete floor from the fully raised position of the lift. My heart briefly stopped as the 500-pound barrels rocked back and forth above my head. Fortunately, they settled. Once on break, I managed to back the company's pickup truck into a neighbor's car that had moved into my blind spot after I had parked the truck. Awkward. My boss was way too kind and forgiving for that incident, and for my off-stretching the hour lunch to 1.5 or more hours. When I took my sack lunch of a sandwich, chips, treat, and Mountain Dew, we would listen to Paul Harvey on the radio at noon. When I would drive home, it took up the entire hour driving to and fro. That was how my lunch hour would get stretched. My final first job, that was a job I considered preliminary to entering the adult full-time ranks of employment, was a summer construction job where the contractor was building hundreds of low-rent government houses that had 3 to 5 bedrooms in each apartment. When I arrived the first day, the foreman saw a sucker and a greenhorn worker if there ever was one. He assigned me to help lay out the roof trusses. Only 4 guys did that job. As the crane set bundles of trusses on the upper level walls, my job was to separate the bundles and drag each truss to the correct position to be nailed by the carpenters. I had to walk the outside wall of the structure across the width of the house with another helper carrying the other end of the truss. I only fell from the 2x4 top of the wall a few times and was able to break each fall each time without injury. 2 other minor injuries involved unloading a truck of prefabbed components. When I tossed a heavy door jamb to one side, it caught on a root and fell back on my toes. Unbelievable pain led to the loss of a toenail, but no serious injury. Finally, one day I was handing a 2-foot 2x4 spacer up to the truss crew. One was dropped back on my head, hitting me with the corner of the board. Blood poured forth, and I was instructed to drive to the company hospital. My handkerchief was soaked with redness, and the receiving nurse nearly fainted. 6 stitches later, I returned to work. Those were all good early experiences to pave the way to enduring regular schedules and consistent responsibilities. As the result of teaching part-time while in undergraduate school at Troy University, I was more prepared to enter the full-time teaching profession as choral director at Crestview High School in Crestview, Florida. In a town of around 12,000 people, Crestview High School was the only upper-level school in town. The football team was only average in those days, so many of the athletic boys were in the band and also delighted to be in the various choral ensembles. That made it very nice to have a full complement of full-blooded young men who loved to sing and could sing very well. The collegiate singers from Troy had been on tour in the spring of 1971, and Crestview was one of our tour concert stops. By that time, I had already interviewed for the teaching position, and when the collegiates were warming up in the choral room, I introduced my classmates to my new music assignment for the following fall. That was a real thrill. The Crestview High School Glee Club, the mixed chorus, and the Contemporary Singers, a select ensemble, were known throughout the state as a superior chorus, always scoring in the top bracket at state festivals. The chorus combined with members of the Pensacola Symphony, Willie Hammett, trumpet, William Dennison, organ, and guest soloist for a presentation of the full Handel's Messiah. Each year, the department would present a fully staged Broadway-style musical in the spring. The Contemporary Singers participated in an honors choir at Florida State University conducted by Robert Shaw. That opportunity opened many doors for me through Clayton Craybill, Director of Choral Activities at FSU. Through that contact, I later attended Florida State as a graduate assistant and earning my doctorate, as well as later singing many seasons with Robert Shaw and the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra Chorus.